Today I want to show you how to make this super cute bow wreath envelope. So it's just an idea for how you could address your envelope, but look, it has these super cute little bows on it with some florals and leaves. We've got some faux calligraphy, some all caps. It's going to be so fun and it's not complicated. I promise you can draw this. We're going to do it step by step. So let's jump in. All right, the very first thing we're going to want to do is just make sure that the flap of our envelope is the right direction. Nothing worse than writing on your envelope upside down. Next thing, we're going to take our monoline pen from the spring lettering box, and we're going to start with doing some bows. So bows are not too complicated. You can do these. We're going to start with the center. So you're going to be doing kind of a circular or a rounded square shape. So that's the center of our bow. And then we're going to come out and kind of make this kind of rounded triangular shape. And then here we add another line. And we'll do the same thing for this side. And we can kind of make it a little bit wavy if we want to add some variation. Then from here, we're just going to add the tail of the bow. So I'm not right here on this corner, but a little bit in, and you're going to come down, kind of do a little bit of waving here. And then from here, we're going to kind of go out and then come back down. And these don't need to be exactly the same. In fact, you don't want both sides to be exactly the same because then it wouldn't look like a real bow, right? So that is step one, is to draw this bow, but we want to draw a few more. In total, I'm drawing 3. So I want to space them out within my wreath. So I'm going to have one here. I'm going to put one down here. So we're going to draw it the exact same way, where we have kind of that rounded square shape in the middle. Where we're just going to add these 2 rounded kind of triangles. And then we're just going to draw the tail again. And we just want the bottom of the tail to kind of come in to like a pointed shape. So that's bow number 2. Now we're just going to add bow number 3 over in this area. So same thing, we're just drawing it again. And the more you draw these, the more it's like, oh, this is easy. It's not too tricky. And there we have it. We've got our 3 bows. They're looking super cute. They're all a little bit different, which I love. So the next thing that I'm going to do is draw some flowers in here. So I'm going to draw some flowers kind of in 3s again. I'm going to start over here. And this kind of flower, it's just going to be 4 petals. And we're going to do the petals kind of like this. So we'll do 1, and then we're just going to do another 1, and we're just going to go around until we have 4. And these are actually kind of close in size to the bow. These are going to be our biggest items on this card. Then I'm going to do 1 more. I'm going to do a small circle for the center, and then I'm going to do 1 more, but I'm going to start with the circle on this one because I want to overlap this flower. So you see how it just kind of overlaps that one? There, cute. Okay, so I'm going to leave those flowers there, and then I'm going to come over, I'm going to do some flowers on this side as well. A little trick that I like to do, if I've just drawn this and I'm not sure if it's dry, I'll just put another piece of paper or a spare envelope on top so that I don't smear it with my hand sitting on top. So let's draw some over here. So I'm just going to start with the center, and we're just doing, again, 4 petals. And then we'll draw 1 more that's up here a little bit. So something like that. And then our last section, you can see we're kind of doing all the flowers in between the bows. So our last section, we've got some flowers up here then. One of my favorite things to do when I'm like doing flowers is just choosing a few and then just repeating them over and over again. So instead of having to think of a new flower for each of these sections, we're just repeating those flowers. And it creates a nice consistency throughout our piece. So that's how it's looking so far. The next thing I want to add is going to be some large leaves. So I'm going to be doing that from one side of the flower to meet the bow. And this is kind of going to start giving that wreath effect that we want. So from here, I'm just going to start right from this flower and draw a line about like that. I'm going to do kind of larger, big leaves like this. And I'm just going to go down the stem, alternating sides, and adding more and more leaves. And this one, I might do one where I pretend it was kind of extending beneath the flower. So that's going to be great. Then from here, I want to do the same thing where I'm going to draw this way. I have a little bit more space there, so I can make it a little bit longer. And again, I'm just alternating sides. Something I've noticed, if you'll notice, these leaves look really thin and these ones are a little bit more chubby. It's so much easier for me for some reason to draw all of my leaves if the point is facing away from me. And I'm not sure why, and I don't know if that's like a thing for anyone else. Well, that leaf didn't quite look right, but oh well, we'll make it blend in. I think because I was starting at the top. We'll just do one that kind of goes behind there. And I think that will be okay. It'll blend in once we get everything in. So then from here, putting my envelope on top of that so I don't smear it, we're going to do one more. Like that. Okay, this is looking super cute. It's starting to look like a wreath. We're getting closer to that look. From here, I'm going to add in some smaller leaves now. So these ones I'm going to go from the bow to the flower are going to be the small leaves and small branches. So I'm probably going to maybe try to do 2 in some sections. So I'm going to do a line here. And these are just smaller leaves around this size. We don't want everything to be exactly the same size or it will just all start to blend together. So we want to have some variety in our shapes and sizing of our leaves. So something like this, I love it. Let's go from this bow up. And again, I'm going to turn my paper because it just makes it easier for me to draw. And I'm going to put that over what I just drew. And I'm kind of curving everything in. If you'll notice, everything's kind of curving so it goes in this circular shape. So that's going to help it look like a wreath too. There. I'm thinking one here. Okay, and then we've got one more that I'm going to do on this side. All right, it's coming together. It's looking very wreath-like. We're looking pretty balanced. We've got a little bit extra negative space here than anywhere else, so we might need to add a little bit there. But from here, at this point, I'm going to be kind of adding some filler. So I'm going to go back to these big flowers, and on all of these, I'm just going to add some leaves that are like just coming out of the flowers. So something like that, and I'll do it on this side as well. Just to make those flowers look a little more full. Something like that. So we'll just do that to all of these different flower sections. We're just going to kind of fill in where we can. And there's already kind of a lot going on that side, so maybe I won't add that much, but we'll add more here. You could add some like this that aren't even connected to the flower at all. On this last one, there's not a ton of room up top. So probably just add those two little ones, and then maybe there. And it looks like there's just this little pocket right here that was meant for some leaves. From here, I'm gonna look around and think, okay, where do we need to like fill in a little space? And I'm noticing on all of them, there's this space between the big leaves and the bow. So there, I'm just gonna add like a little kind of filler that just has little branches coming off of it, something like that. I'm just gonna add that in all of these areas. And here as well. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm looking around. I'm just going to see if there's anywhere else that just needs a little bit more balance that I could add something. So for example, there's kind of this negative space here. I think I'll just add a few more leaves there. Another thing that I like to do is we've kind of done these little dots everywhere, so we could kind of just repeat that and just add in a few more anywhere where there's just kind of like a pocket. There's a lot more negative space here, so I might add one of those. But anywhere there's just some room to add. Just kind of work our way around the wreath, adding these cute little dots. All right, how cute is this? It's so fun. So I feel like at this point you could leave it and it would be great, and we're just gonna do the addressing, but you could go in and add a little bit of details as well. So for example, on the bow, we could add a little bit, just some lines like this. On some of the bigger leaves, we could add the little veins in there. I wouldn't add it to all the leaves, but just maybe some of them could do that. We could add a few lines to our flowers. Just little details like this, just make it feel a little bit more complete. Okay, so that's how it's looking. So the next thing we're going to want to do is add our name. So I'm going to do just a first name on this, or if you did a first and last, you just want it to be rather short. And I'm actually going to use a pencil to create a baseline like this. And I am going to do this name in pencil just to make sure that I get it centered before I do it in ink. So I'm going to be doing faux calligraphy. So this is what we learned with our spring lettering box. So I'm just starting with the C. The name I'm doing is Sierra. Something like this. It's pretty close to centered. It's a little bit leaning this side, but I'm okay with it. And then I'm not going to do in the rest of the address, like I'm not going to write it out in pencil, but I will draw in my lines. So I do feel like it could be moved up a little bit, and I'm debating if I do want to do that or not, if I want to erase or not. So with this, remember, anytime we're moving our pen in a downward direction, that is where we're going to be adding thickness. So we started here and we worked down. So that's where we were going to want to add a little bit of thickness there. And the same in this area, we were moving down there as well. So we'll just do a very thin amount of thickness and fill it in, and then we'll move on to the next letter. So you could do, sometimes I fill it in as I go, and sometimes I draw it out all first and then fill in. So it's totally up to you and what you prefer. So remember, down equals thick, up equals thin. And this is just going to create that beautiful calligraphy look with the contrast of the thick and the thin lines. And you generally want your thicknesses to all be pretty similar. So if one's looking more thick than the other, you would want to adjust it. But that's how things are looking right now. I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to let it dry, but I can also start working on my address. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move down to here, and I'm going to just do all caps print. And I am slightly trying to angle my all caps so that it kind of lines up with the lettering. I will say this design works better when you can kind of use abbreviations or shorten the address. It's not going to work well for a super long address just because there's not going to be a lot of space. So there we go. That's what we have. We got to let this dry, and then I'm going to erase it and we'll see the final product. Okay, this is how it turned out. We've got all our pencil marks erased, but look how cute this is. Honestly, it was like 15 minutes. It wasn't a ton of time. It allows me to be creative and have some fun. And the person who gets this is going to love it, right? They're just going to think this is so fun, and they're going to be so excited to open this card from you. So definitely let me know if you give this a try. And let me know if you have, definitely let me know if you give this a try and if you have any questions about doing it. Definitely give this a try and let me know if you have any questions about making it.